Morning guys, Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen again. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. I had a breadfruit peeping at me in the fridge for the past week or so. So I thought I'd make one of my mom's favorite dishes to make for us. Stewed pork with coconut milk and breadfruit simmered away, slow cooked, all kind of niceness. And this is Mr. Breadfruit here, who's been watching me cut eye for the past week. It's going a bit tarnished on the outside, but hey, it's still nice and green and full. And over here, I just put the pork. Let me get some of that juice back in there. The pork to stew down. We're going to give that some more time. But if it's your first time here on YouTube watching me, hey, give me some love, show me some love. Click on subscribe above, give the video the thumbs up or like it, and leave me your comments below. For those of you who requested this recipe on Facebook, here we go. Stewed pork with breadfruit simmered in coconut milk. One of my mom's top secret recipes I'm sharing with you guys, but not everything. Trust me, she's going to get mad at me if I do. Let's see how quickly we can run through these ingredients here so we can get cooking. Up front, about 4 stems of shadow benny. If you can't get shadow benny, it's also called culantro, I believe, in North America. If you can't get that, use about 2 tablespoons of freshly chopped cilantro. Up front, a teaspoon of salt. We're going to adjust this as we go along. You may require more. Near the end, you're going to taste it. Add some more if you want. A ripe tomato, a fairly medium-sized onion, some Worcestershire sauce, a tablespoon of that, about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, brown sugar. We're going to be stewing this as a brown stew first. I have here 1.5 tablespoons of golden brown sugar. Don't be fooled, this will not taste sweet. Trust me on this one. You won't get a sort of a sweet taste, but you'll get a rich, deep caramel taste from this. Caribbean Sunshine, I'm using this whole pepper today and I will be chopping it up. If you don't want all that fire from the pepper, use a small piece or don't break it. Put the entire thing whole into the dish, let it cook, and then fish it out at the end as I normally suggest you guys do. I've got some fresh thyme, maybe about 4 sprigs there, 2 scallions, some ginger. We're going to need a couple thick slices of that ginger. Actually, I'm going to grate it. So let's say 1/2 teaspoon of freshly grated ginger, 3 cloves of garlic. On the far side here, I've got 1.5 cups of coconut milk. I couldn't source the freshly grated coconut milk, so I have here stuff from the can. Back here, bring it up closer for you guys, a breadfruit. It's not as green, as beautiful as if it's just came off the tree, because I've had it in the fridge now for about a week or so. Actually, it's a green breadfruit, nice and firm. It's not a ripe breadfruit. I'm going to show you guys how to peel it and chop it up and get it ready for this. And the pork. I have here about 3 pounds of pork that I cubed up. I believe it was pork butt, or it's either the butt or the butt roast or a leg. I'm not sure. But anyways, it's nice and chopped up. It's been washed with some fresh lemon juice and water. I drained it. I can still see some water there. I'm going to drain it a bit more. We're going to season this up, allow it to marinate, and then we're going to get assembling everything. Let's chop everything up for marinating the pork, and all I'm going to do is just press down on that garlic. And then we're going to give it a rough chop. Nothing too fancy. We just want to chop it up so it helps in the marinating process. The whole idea here is to infuse that pork with the wonderful flavors of all these herbs and everything else. Now here's the thing, guys. I'm using the whole pepper, seeds and everything. That's where the heat is. However, since this is a green pepper which is not fully mature yet, I'm going to get a ton of flavor from it without a lot of the heat. One more thing I wanted to mention to you guys. If you guys have the Caribbean green seasoning paste that I showed you guys how to make a while back in your fridge, feel free to use that, and then you won't need all this thyme and scallions and everything else. It'll make the cooking process a lot faster because you won't have to prepare all those things. Now I have here the shadow benny. Remember I said if you don't have shadow benny, Feel free to use cilantro. You want to chop this up as fine as you can because you really want a lot of it into the pork when we marinate it. Got the scallions. Gonna give that a rough chop as well. Nothing too fancy. All gonna cook down like a big old stew, lovely in that pot there. The tomato, I'm just gonna get that stem out of here. Give it a rough chop that way. Pretty much cube it up. Same for this one. It's a rough chop, nothing too fancy. And we're good to season this pork now. Let's quickly season the pork now for the marinating process because we need this to marinate for at least 1 hour. In first, the salt. It looks like a lot of salt, but trust me, you're gonna need it once that breadfruit goes in there. You're gonna hit him with this Lee & Perrins Worcestershire sauce here now. The fresh ground black pepper. Nice dose of that ground pepper. The ketchup. And finally, all that good stuff that we chopped up seconds ago, it's all gonna go into the pot now. The garlic, the hot pepper, the scallions, the shadow benny, onion, tomato, everything is going in here now. Ooh, got kind of loud there. The thyme. You can certainly pick the leaves off and put it in there, but I like it with the stems and everything. Near the end, I'll take it out. The ginger, what I'm going to do, and I told you guys I'm going to do this, I'm just going to grate it in there. I want a nice, maybe about a half a teaspoon of grated ginger in there. If you want, you can certainly cut huge chunks of ginger. So a couple thick slices of ginger, put it in there. When it's all done, you can fish that ginger out so no one's biting into a big old chunk of ginger. Now next up, we're just going to really mix this up. We want all those flavors to get in contact with just about every piece of pork here. I'm going to continue mixing this up and we're going to allow this to marinate, like I said, for at least an hour in the fridge. I have the Dutchie on the stove here, high heat. You need a big, heavy sort of pot for this. Nice high heat. The pot is nice and hot now. So what I'm going to do is hit him with that vegetable oil. And what I recommend, we're going to be making a sort of a caramel sort of base with the brown sugar. And once that gets going, it's going to get very hot. So what I do recommend is a spoon with a long handle and make sure it's dry. So what we're going to do, we're going to add the brown sugar to the pot here, and we're just going to keep stirring because we want that to melt away and to form a sort of a caramel base. You will notice the edges will start going a sort of a golden brown. It's going to go frothy and then it's going to start going a sort of a rich dark brown color. Keep moving your spoon because we really want the same color throughout the base of this pan here. We want all that frothy goodness to be the same rich dark golden brown. Now we don't want it to go black, but we really want it to get a little bit darker than this. I do hope you can see that. And I've got the marinated pork sitting close at hand because once we start adding this, it's going to go very fast. We really want to get a deep rich color and flavor base. So now you can see I have that lovely dark base that I'm looking for. I mean to say the smoke is probably going to be covering it up, but here we go. Now I'm going to add, it's going to get loud, I'm going to add the seasoned pork. I've added the seasoned pork to it, and as I add, I'm going to keep stirring. Now you're probably wondering if the marinade and everything is going in here. Quite correct. We want everything in the pot. Just keep adding and stirring. You notice what's happening? The pieces of pork is picking up all that rich base from the bottom of the pot. All the seasoned pork is in the pot now. I gave it a good stir. My heat is still on high. I want the heat on high because I want this to come up to temperature and sort of start releasing its own juices. Once that happens, I'm going to turn the heat down to like a medium-low, put the lid on here, and let that cook for about 25-30 minutes or so. Just going to keep stirring that. There we go. Just going to wait till that comes up to temperature, start releasing its own liquid and getting that sort of goodness going. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but I'm already starting to see bubbles, which means it's starting to boil. Just going to give it one more quick stir. I'm going to turn my heat down to medium, and I'm going to put the lid on there and allow that to cook. We're going to keep stirring it every 5-10 minutes or so because we really want everything to cook evenly and brown evenly in there. It's been about 25 minutes now. Let's take a look at what's happening in here. As you can see, there's a lot of liquid that sprouted up. Nice, lovely juices. The kitchen smelling real nice. So here we go. This pork now is to the point where we need to burn off that liquid to form and to build on that rich base, that color, that flavor that we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank up my heat now, and we're going to burn off all this liquid. Now remember to keep stirring. We don't want this to stick to the bottom of the pot or burn or anything. It's going to take a few minutes, but we're going to burn off all that liquid. As the heat is up, I better move this out of there. As the heat is up, burning off all that liquid in the stewed pork there, I thought I'd show you guys what I had prepped here. And this is the breadfruit. It is soaking in cool water just so it doesn't discolor. Nice, lovely pieces. In the description of this video, I'll show you guys how to peel and prepare the breadfruit for this dish. As soon as that water dries down there, we're going to add all the final ingredients to the pot. With all that liquid almost gone now, all you're looking for, all you should be seeing on the bottom of the pot here as you stir it around should be oil, a little bit of oil, not any sort of water or liquid type thing. It's nice and rich color. The scent in the kitchen here, ooh, it's real nice. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add the pieces of breadfruit directly to the pot. Gonna top that up there. All that breadfruit is going in there. Then we're gonna add the star 8 coconut milk. I'm gonna give that a quick rinse. Pick up some of that leftover coconut milk in there. And what I did was, and I forgot to mention it in the ingredient list, is in here, the same bowl that I marinated the pork in, because I want to pick up any sort of marinade that's left there, I have 1 cup of water. I'm just going to kind of shake the pot, allow this to settle in quite a bit. Just going to do that. We really don't want to, we want to keep the breadfruit on the top because we want that pork to release all that goodness and sort of steam the top here. Just going to keep stirring that. I'm going to bring that up to a boil, put the lid back on it, and let it simmer very, very low for about 45 minutes or so. It's been a couple minutes. It's nice and bubbling now, which means it's come up to a boil. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reduce my heat to low, put the lid back on there. We want this sort of a simmered, gentle boil kind of thing. And we're going to let it go until everything is nice and tender, which is usually about 45 minutes. But I'll keep stirring. I'm going to keep moving this around and stuff like that and let it do its thing in the pot here. It's been about 35 minutes. I just want to give you guys a peek at what's going on in here. A lot of that liquid has now dried down. The pork pieces, it's probably, well, I mean, we can taste it right now. It's probably nice and tender. But this is where if you want to taste for salt, you're going to taste for salt. Now what I forgot to tell you guys, if you're going to be stirring this, and we do need to stir it a little bit just to move around the pieces of breadfruit around. If you're going to be stirring it, be very gentle. We don't want to break it up too much and have it melt away in the pot here. I'm going to give this another 10 minutes or so, another 5-10 minutes. Then I'm going to remove the lid, crank up the heat, and burn off that extra liquid on the bottom of the pan. But again, when you're stirring it, be very gentle. It's now been about 45 minutes in total since we added the breadfruit, the coconut milk, and water to the pot. I still could hear a little bit of moisture, a little bit of liquid on the bottom of the pot. Now, here's the thing. If you want a little bit of gravy, kind of saucy, turn off your stove now. But I like it the way my mom used to make it for us, where it used to fry down, and the only thing you would see is a hint of oil from that coconut milk and the oil we added at the start in stewing. I like it like that, where it's nice and fried down. She called it fried down. But this is it, guys. This here, coconut, stewed pork with breadfruit and a coconut sauce, I guess, if you want. Nice and lovely. By the way, the kitchen smelling nice. I can't wait to dig into this. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com, burning off the final liquid in this pot here and getting ready to eat. Have a great day, guys, and I do hope you give this recipe a try the next time you get your hands on some breadfruit.